Look, I had to finish the video, so I'm gonna close the door. Make it work. Let's go. Let's go.
Roblox's biggest horror game, but somehow nobody remembers him. Back in 2017, a developer called Lighting Splash started making Roblox games. For years, he tried different ideas until one of them finally took off, Ragdoll Universe. It became his first real success. But while making games, he noticed one huge problem. Roblox horror games were boring. You played them once and never came back. Every game felt exactly the same. Looking for a way to fix that problem, he found a small game called Rooms. It had a brilliant concept, walking through endless doors while random entities appeared, but it felt unfinished. So he decided to improve the idea. After months of development, he finally released the game, but almost nobody played it. For the first few days, it barely reached 100 players. But then, more and more people kept joining, until it was reaching over 100,000 players every single day. The game was called Doors, and it quickly became the biggest horror game that Roblox had ever seen. This
Okay, go watch this video. Shout out to Liquid. He has 41.2k subscribers.
This developer was only 15 years old, and somehow he became the richest player on Roblox. Back in 2014, a 9-year-old kid called Zem started making games. At first, he wasn't trying to become rich, but he suddenly had his first successful game called Type Race. And it proved something. Zem had big ideas. He knew how to build games, but he noticed something happening all across Roblox. Millions of players wanted one thing, Robux. But there wasn't an easy way to get them, and that's when he had one simple idea. What if players could donate Robux directly to each other? So he spent months building a brand new game. But that's not an easy task. Imagine spending months modeling everything by hand, when today, you can do it with Custom Use. With Custom Use's node editor, you can simply type what you want, and the AI generates multiple concepts for you. Then, with just a few nodes, you can turn it into a Roblox UGC. Want to sell your own clothing for Robux? With Custom Use, you can become a professional designer, and you can even export the models directly into Blender, just like I do for my own animations. Everything is ready in minutes, but unfortunately, Zem didn't have anything like this. Imagine what he could have created if he had Custom Use. This developer created Roblox's biggest. This developer almost lost everything, but somehow he changed Roblox forever. Back in 2016, a developer called New Fishy was working on a small project with his friend Super Hero. They were building a game called Treelands, and for a while, everything was going perfectly. The game gained millions of visits. It looked like they had finally achieved what every Roblox developer dreams of. But then, something happened that nobody expected. His friend and fellow developer suddenly passed away. The development stopped completely, and eventually Treelands was abandoned. For New Fishy, it looked like that was the end. But around that same time, a new trend was starting to take over Roblox: roleplay games. Most developers saw it as just another trend, but New Fishy saw something else: a second chance. So with another developer called Think, they started working on a brand new project. At first, it was nothing special, just another roleplay game. But one day, they added something that wasn't even supposed to become the main feature: pets. And suddenly, everything changed. The game started growing faster until it became impossible to stop. Every update became an event. It became the first Roblox game to consistently reach 1 million player count. And its name was Adopt Me. Today, it has over 43 billion visits, all because one developer looking for a second chance created the most influential game that Roblox has ever seen. These developers almost lost everything, but somehow, they created Roblox's biggest shooter ever. Back in 2018, two developers called Nozni and Sensei Warrior, they started making simple Roblox games, like Halloween Simulator. And for the first time, they realized something. Maybe they could actually become successful developers. So they kept making games, until eventually they created a game called Super Golf. Basically, golf with your friends, but free, and on Roblox. It got over 200 million visits, but they saw one problem. Roblox had big shooters like Arsenal, Counterblocks, Phantom Forces. They were fun, but none of them felt truly competitive. And that's when they had an idea. What if we built Roblox's most competitive shooter shooter. To make it, they would have to stop focusing on Super Golf. If this new game failed, they could lose everything they had worked for. But they took the risk anyway. For months, they dedicated all of their time to this new project. And when they launched it, it was completely dead. But suddenly, it went viral. This game is called Rivals. Today, it has over 1 billion visits, all because 2 developers understood something most people never do. To create something bigger, you have to be willing to leave something behind. These developers almost lost everything, but somehow, they created Roblox's biggest shooter ever. Back in 2018, the developer of Blox Fruits, did one thing that should have killed his game, but somehow, it made it bigger. Most Roblox games update constantly, because when updates are slow, players get bored. But back in 2019, 2 developers called MyGame43 and Rip Indra made a tiny game called Blox Piece. Another one-piece game, or at least that's what everyone thought, because Roblox was already full of anime copies, and most of them were doomed to fail. But these devs had a completely different strategy. Instead of rushing small updates every week, they disappeared for months, working on giant updates behind the scenes, new fruits, new seas, and somehow every update felt like an event. Most developers were chasing players every week, but Blox Fruits did the opposite. They made players come back on their own. People weren't just playing Blox Fruits anymore. They were waiting for it. Every time people thought, yeah, this game is dying, another massive update pulled millions of players back in. One of Roblox's biggest games grew by doing the exact opposite of what should have killed it. The most dangerous hacker in Roblox history was created by Roblox itself. Back in 2007, a Roblox admin called John Shedletsky created a strange account named 1x1. At first, nobody cared. But then, games started breaking. Creepy messages appeared everywhere, and somehow, one name kept showing up. 1x1. Players believed he could destroy games, even hack your account. But the real story behind him was way stranger. People thought that 1x1 was attacking Roblox all by himself. But here's the twist. Most of the attacks weren't coming from him at all. Real hackers began using the myth for fake hacks. If anything weird happened, people always blamed 1x1. The legend became bigger, and years later, it became one of Roblox's biggest myths, all because a Roblox admin got bored. The most dangerous hacker in Roblox history was created by Roblox itself. Back in 2007, this Roblox game hid a creepy secret that most players don't know. When you join 99 Nights in the Forest, you can actually see this message, inspired by a true story, which immediately made me wonder, how can a Roblox game with cultists, aliens, and this creepy deer thing possibly be based on real events? Well, it was inspired by a real case from 2023, when a plane crashed deep inside the Amazon rainforest in Colombia. The adults didn't survive, but somehow, 4 children stayed alive alone there for over 40 days. Helicopters, military teams, search dogs, and hundreds of people were desperately trying to find them. It seemed they were lost forever, but against all odds, they survived. That real story eventually inspired the creator, and suddenly, 99 Nights in the Forest doesn't feel like a normal Roblox game anymore. This Roblox game hid a creepy secret that most players don't know. The developer of 99 Nights in the Forest almost left Roblox forever, until he had one last idea. Cracky4 had already made big games like Break-In, a Roblox story game where you had to survive Scary Larry and the Purge, and somehow people absolutely loved it. It became one of the most played games on Roblox. For a moment, it genuinely felt like he had already conquered Roblox. But that success didn't last forever. Players slowly started leaving the game, trying to recreate the same magic. He released Break-In 2, but it never reached the level of the original. After failing to recreate that same success, the pressure started building. More games released. New developers were taking over Roblox. And slowly, Cracky4 couldn't keep up with the biggest creators anymore. But he wasn't done yet. He had one more idea. He released a strange survival horror game called 99 Nights in the Forest, and it didn't instantly go viral. At first, almost nobody was playing it, but he kept updating the game. Slowly, the player count started climbing until the game completely exploded, becoming one of Roblox's biggest horror games ever. The developer This was the biggest game on Roblox, and suddenly, it lost almost all of its players. Back in 2025, this survival game completely exploded. You would ride across a massive train through a giant wasteland, fighting zombies, buying weapons, and trying to survive long enough to reach the end. And somehow, people couldn't stop playing it. Big YouTubers started making videos about it, and eventually, it became the #1 game on Roblox. At that point, it genuinely felt unstoppable. But then, players started noticing a huge problem. The updates became slower. The developer, Rico, was taking forever to update the game. Players slowly started getting bored, and the game started dying, so the developer tried saving it. He released a massive update, adding a huge new boss, and tons of new things for players to do. For a moment, it actually worked. The game exploded again, but it didn't last long. The player count completely collapsed. The biggest game on Roblox had lost nearly 90% of its players, and today, most people barely even talk about it. Its name was Dead Rails. This Roblox developer almost lost everything, and somehow he came back even bigger. Back in 2014, a Roblox developer named Nicholas created a game that would completely change his life. The idea was simple. One random player secretly becomes the murderer, and everyone else has to survive. The idea wasn't even his. It originally came from a Gary's mod. Nicholas simply brought the concept to Roblox, and it instantly exploded. Everyone was playing it. It was one of the biggest games on Roblox. But suddenly, another developer saw the success and copied the entire idea. His game was called Mad Murderer, and somehow, players liked the copy even more. Everything just felt better. Nicholas lost almost everything. Most people would have probably quit after that. But he didn't. Instead, he started rebuilding the entire game from zero. He came back with a new version, a version so good that it completely replaced Mad Murderer. Its name was Murder Mystery 2. Players became completely obsessed. The game that almost got replaced forever became one of the biggest Roblox games ever.